So a couple days ago, Nikki, an admin of the Scum community Facebook page and somebody I personally enjoy reading from, released a post that detailed some of the upcoming changes happening in Scum. Of course, it isn't everything coming in, not everything was given a date, but regardless, I am pretty optimistic about the future of the game. There is also an announcement at the end of this video, and timestamps will be in the description below. Let's get into it. Firstly, the base building. Everybody loves the new base building, although some may say that base building shouldn't be in the game to begin with. There are different tiers, there's a different style to the current genre of base building, and there are some minor issues, and those do include the textures. They said that in the coming patches, the textures for some of the base building materials will match. If you guys have any other issues to report, I would encourage you to leave them in the comment section or go to their community forum on Steam. Secondly, the performance in the big city. This seems to have always been an issue, but Bunny, a developer of Scum, said this, and I quote, "The clutter around the city is directly tied to the stuttering problems you are experiencing. The city itself is massive, and when it comes to multiplayer survival games on Unreal Engine, we are practically pioneering the genre when it comes to the scale of the map and the amount of things on it. This is why we are having some issues when it comes to performance. It takes time for everything to stream in, and thus you can experience those periodic hiccups while moving through the city. The debris, or clutter, around the city is put there to make players slow down and thus give the game time to load assets in and reduce the clutter, besides just looking cool and apocalyptic. Migration to the new engine has also created some extra work for us, but you can expect the next patch to increase the performance by a solid amount. The city itself should feel much better." End quote. So the good news is that we can expect some performance boosts in the next patch. Moving on to number 3, the locks. Eventually, locks will be able to be broken by players. This will depend on a couple of things, such as the strength of the player and the tool used. I was worried about this and also excited as well, because I know that it makes it easier to get into chests, bases, and other storage areas now. However, to balance out this mechanic, the developers have also made this process extremely noisy, which will not only alert players, obviously, if they're within the vicinity, but also puppets as well. There is also a risk of damaging or destroying the loot inside the container you are breaking into, so it's a risky procedure, but I'll be glad to have the option if need be. I do worry though, could this be used to grief players? Say an enemy raids your base and they have no intention of trying to take your stuff because their lockpicking is too low. They can now just break all your locks in hopes of destroying your stuff. This seems like an RNG despawn raid where instead of players needing to pick the locks of the containers and leave the stuff on the ground, all they need to do is break the lock wrongly and the stuff inside gets destroyed. Perhaps I am misunderstanding this, but I'd love to hear some clarification on that. Fourth, body disposal. In upcoming patches, you will be able to drag your enemies' corpses to a safe location to loot them. I love this one and can't really think of a negative to this, although I do have questions such as, can you drag friendly bodies? Can you drag them while comatose and not just dead? If you are strong enough, can you actually pick them up instead of dragging and it will be quieter and faster? If that is possible, will we be able to pick up a teammate with an injured leg and carry them to safety while they fire their weapon to defend us? It's exciting to think of the possibilities. I just want more questions answered. Fifth, camping items. We all know that there is a respectable community inside Scum who enjoy role-playing, and this will be great for them because it gives them the chance to go camping, survive outside as nomads, and sleep under the stars. This will also be great for those players who enjoy not having bases but prefer to live on the move. What camping gear will be implemented though? Well, the only thing that I have seen thus far is the sleeping bag mentioned in Nikki's post, but I wouldn't be surprised to see thermoses to store liquids, tents, air mattresses, and maybe more. They also mentioned the possibility of sleep, which is an interesting idea. They don't know how it would be implemented in the game because it is multiplayer obviously, but it should be interesting to see if it makes an appearance. Sixth, animals. During an interview with Player 2, Bunny was speaking about lots of animals he would like to see in the game, but the animal mentioned here are snakes. I don't know what kinds of snakes, if they're constrictors or only venomous, but they are coming. We can also harvest the snake's venom and use them to make venomous arrows. This ability to make venomous arrows does beg some questions. Will we be able to poison food or drinks? What about wells? Can we apply venom to bullets or melee weapons? Will other venomous creatures such as frogs make an appearance? Lots of questions. Moving on to the current in-game item, the Insulated Gloves. Like I said, they are currently in the game. They are just useless because they are not operational. There are two variants, the soft latex gloves and the thick electrician rubber gloves, and they are used for picking locks and protecting yourself from the shock traps. The soft latex gloves will give you minor shock protection and will break easily, but they are better than nothing. The electrician gloves will protect you much more effectively, but at the cost of nimble fingers. You might have a more difficult time picking the lock. Number 8. Stackable Items. There are lots of items in the game that are not stackable that we wish were stackable. The good news is that they are coming, but this will be a slow process and will need to be done item by item so the devs can avoid unnecessary wipes. Number 9. Players that you kill may become puppets. This means that if you die and the other player hasn't looted your body, your past self may be reanimated with all your gear and you will need to kill yourself to get it back, getting some Dead Matter vibes here. Or perhaps you have had moments where you have come across a random dead player. Well, now you may come across a fully kitted puppet that used to be a player wandering around and not just lying there lifeless. Dead Matter said that this was their goal and one of the things that drew me to the game to begin with. It will be interesting to see how Scum does it. This one will take some time because the inventory system is being reworked, but after that, testing will begin. Number 10. Squad rank privileges. Sometimes you bring somebody into your squad and you don't really know much about them. It is a risk, but you are trying to be nice. Sometimes this works out, sometimes they end up deleting your base, elements, and items. The developers are aware and are working on a way to add certain permissions or protections to the ranks in your squad. So that way, in order to interact with certain containers or building items, you will need to be a certain rank. This is a great way to add some safety to the squad and limit the damage of mutinies. Number 11. We are getting new puppets. If you want to know about the lore of the puppets, click this link that appears. Essentially, we are going to eventually get a variety of puppets, some with prosthetics that will give them special abilities like running faster, hitting harder, and jumping higher, as if they don't already. Or some puppets may even be carrying melee weapons. Number 12. The C4. This was a very impactful change to the game because it adds a powerful element to base rating. It needs some tweaking still, but it's fairly balanced right now, at least compared to what it used to be. The only issue is that it is fairly easy to acquire, and the developers are changing that. When you go into a kill box, you will be going to get a piece required to build your own C4. You won't find a pre-built C4 in the future. This will make them even more valuable and give players a bit more incentive to build a base knowing that a C4 won't be such a common commodity. Number 13. The Melee and Unarmed Combat. Right now, we just have some basic boxing, and though it does the job, it's not what the developers are wanting for a finished project. The devs are wanting to overhaul the melee combat by including more fighting styles that will add some good variety to the game and make the octagon matches way more entertaining. They are wanting to add different visual indications of damage to go along with this, so hopefully we will see some missing teeth, some black eyes, some facial cuts. But this also makes me wonder if our characters will scar in the future as well. Number 14. The weather system. The developers gave the community a chance to test out the fog system, and though we all liked it, we didn't like it all over the map all the time. The developers intend to make it part of the dynamic weather system, and so you will see it perhaps in the early mornings or coming with the rain. Strong winds may also make their way to the game as well, but I'm not sure what effect that will have. Maybe it'll make your character run faster when running with it, or maybe it'll make you run out of stamina more when running against it. This will be important when boats and makeshift rafts come to the game as well, because if you don't have an oar to row with, you will need wind and a sail. Number 15. Game events and death matches. These are super fun to do and have amazing benefits because your character gains skills without losing gear or resources. It also breaks up the monotony of a long journey. There are some drawbacks, of course, like the fact that if the event takes place in the main map in real time, and that if you are a regular player not participating in the event and are unlucky enough to be in the town which the deathmatch is taking place in, you will get trapped, and if you die, you lose your gear. So it is planned that these events and death matches will eventually take place on separate maps outside of the main island map. Number 16. Admin controls and private servers. One thing that this game could do to make it insanely fun and unique server to server is to give these server owners more control and more admin commands. Some of these commands that are coming is the option to configure the amount of locked cabinets in the game and how they are locked. The server owner will also be able to turn off all of those if they prefer. A big one is the loot. Admins will have more options to configure the loot on the server. This means that server owners will be able to increase loot in certain areas, decrease them in others, make some items unspawnable, or increase the spawn of others. This one would also change the feel of the game for sure. They will add different kill box controls and also add the ability to make certain parts of the map into their very own safe zones. Before I end the video, I want to take this time to let you guys know that I am accepting admin applications for my Scum server, PATH.HOUSE Condemned. To apply, simply join my Discord and follow the application process from there. If you just want a solid server to play on, once again it's called PATH.HOUSE Condemned and the details are in the description below. Thank you to my members for supporting the channel and to everyone who stops by my streams. And with all that being said, if you guys like scares, survival, and scavenging, consider hitting that subscribe button, that like button, and share this video with your friends. Path out.